a great storm has gone through the European Union, and the storm was caused by the European Parliament's initiative to use its right to launch a procedure to amend the EU treaties. Any idea of a treaty amendment, any change of the treaty structure in the European Union is, of course, like letting an elephant into a room filled with very delicate china. It is a structure that's very fragile, that does not seem to be very resilient, as shown by the recent behavior, so to say, of the Union regarding Poland and Hungary and the rule of law in both countries. And it is a structure that is also susceptible of moral panics. The recent initiative by the European Parliament caused a lot of what I would call personally moral panicking amongst especially the smaller member states and amongst the more conservative and nationally minded constituencies in the Union. In my home country, in Poland, the Parliament went through quite a lot of debate that was not scheduled, nonetheless took place regarding the amendment to the treaties, regarding the threat it constituted to the sovereignty of the nation, regarding the standpoint of the new government, only just formed after the October 2023 elections, in that matter, regarding the place of Poland in the European Union, etc. This is a kind of discussion that was reflected in many other member states, and these are vital considerations, since the amendments proposed, and there are quite many of them, include a change of the voting procedure, include an increased role of majority vote instead of unanimity, and they lead to an expansion of powers of the European Union in many domains of the Union's political, social, and economic life. On the 22nd of November 2023, the European Parliament voted 245 proposed amendments to the treaties, which were subsequently submitted to the Council to be proceeded further. That this procedure would be to no avail seems out of doubt. I mean, the Council cannot possibly go for any change of the treaties that would be so far-reaching right at this time, a time of political instability, national insecurity, with warfare spreading next to the European borders, and with many dangerous political phenomena taking place in even the most politically stable or apparently stable EU countries. Nonetheless, well, it is not an easy way through the 245 amendments that are very different in nature, and it's hardly a wonder that one amendment really got very little press coverage. I would even say nobody noticed that. The amendment 245, the very final one. Amendment 245, as proposed by the European Parliament, concerns Article 3 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. It is an article that concerns the right to the integrity of the person. What the Parliament suggests to be done is adding the words bodily autonomy after the integrity of the person. So it would be the right to the integrity of the person as well as bodily autonomy. And also to add to the Article 3, Section 2A, a section that would grant to everybody in the European Union a right to, and I quote, bodily autonomy and free, informed, full and universal access to sexual and reproductive health care, including, in particular, safe and legal abortion. And I cannot help but think that it is a kind of a symbolic moment, that these 99 pages of amendments that are, I think, bound to be ineffective, and with a provision that strives to introduce the universal right to safe and legal abortion as a fundamental right of the European Union. So the European Parliament insists on this idea. We have covered that in one of the previous episodes. So the European Parliament insists on the idea of amending the Charter and adding the right to abortion to it. I have covered that in one of the previous episodes. There was a call for the amendment of the Charter by the European Parliament immediately following the prohibition of abortion or rather, more precisely, the overturning of Roe v. Wade by the US Supreme Court and the resulting opening of the field of the legal regulation of abortion to the American states. The European Parliament reacted to that by insisting that the right to abortion should be a fundamental right in the European Union. It seemed to be kind of a, the kind of a political reaction that the European Parliament is prone to as a very political and very divided body. And now this motive reoccurs in a much more serious form, in a much more serious context. That this occurrence will be as ineffective as the previous one seems, out of question for me at least. But this also shows a trend. It shows a tendency for the right to abortion to come back in the thinking about the architecture of the European Union, about the treaty structure, and it also points out to the growing salience of the right to abortion in the political sensitivities of European decision makers.